All right, good morning everybody. I'm Neil Dhawan with Dream Legal and I'm going to be talking to you today about bankruptcy. So this is my comeback story quote that I use for everybody, and it basically empowers my clients and kind of how I feel about this practice area. So here's a picture of me and my family. You can see the dogs in the picture. The center is me and my wife and my parents at our wedding. And you can see this is a more recent picture here in the bottom right of me and my family at Christmas. So my story, I was a systems engineer certified by Microsoft and a computer programmer, so I worked on the networks, connecting them different countries as well as developing software. Felt very unfulfilled in that career. I was in my early 20s and decided I wanted to do something different. That's where I got into a pursuit of law and moving forward and became an attorney, which is what I do today. So center is a picture of me me becoming a US citizen. Bottom left is me becoming an attorney in 2009, and me being sworn into bankruptcy court in the bottom right in 2010. So why do people file bankruptcy? The biggest takeaway, or the biggest reason people do it, is to get a fresh financial start. And that's really what it is. It's taking your credit and putting it back to the way it was when you were 16 years old and really didn't have credit. You're starting from scratch. You're erasing all of your debt. And that's really what draws people to this option. I look at bankruptcy as not failure, but really taking control. And what I mean by that is if you want to improve your health, you join a gym, you go get a doctor, or you go see a doctor, you hire a nutritionist. These are things you actively do to have a better life. It's the same thing with bankruptcy. You're realizing you're in a situation where you need help, and that's kind of where we come in to change things, turn things around. So, what's the biggest, what I'm going to talk about here is what is a potential client going through? Because a lot of people who are going to file bankruptcy or thinking about it are not going to tell you, I need a bankruptcy lawyer, do you know one? You have to kind of be intuitive and pick up on what their behaviors are and kind of what they're going through. So they have people calling them every 5 minutes, their phone rings. So they don't answer their phone because it's just a creditor asking for payment. There are people who are falling behind on their mortgage, their car payment, rent, basic things. They could be worrying about having their car repossessed, foreclosure on their property. They don't know what they're going to do. Obviously, loans and car payments are falling behind as well. They have a lot of stress that bleeds into their personal life and relationships. These people who are thinking about bankruptcy, they're not sleeping 8 hours a day or 8 hours a night. They're not sleeping at all. They're up, they're worried, they're not sure what tomorrow is going to look like for them. And this is a sad statistic, but somebody drowning in debt is 3.5 times more likely to commit suicide. So we hope we get to them at a point where they are not at that stage, and also they're not selling off everything they own to pay their bills. So what can bankruptcy do? Second you file, it stops the phone calls. It gives you a chance to breathe, kind of take things a little bit easier as well. Stops any judgment, stops all lawsuits that are filed against you, and really you go into court and you restructure or eliminate your debt. So that's a big part of it. One of the big advantages of bankruptcy is, think about if you have a mortgage and you're past due, you can spread out the amount you're past due over 5 years. So it gives you a chance to catch up. Same as your car payment. If you're 3-4 payments past due, spread out that past due amount over 5 years. It makes it a lot more manageable, and you still keep what matters to you. So 2 types of bankruptcy. There's a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13. And the big differences between the two is a Chapter 7 is for people who have minimal assets. House, car, retirement. That's basically it. To qualify for this, you have to earn less than a certain amount of money. One person or one person household, $65,000, 2 people, $81,000, 4 people, $107,000. If you earn as a household less than this amount of money, you can wipe out your debt in 90 to 120 days. It's that quick to get you back on your feet and move forward. The other type of bankruptcy is called a Chapter 13, and this is a wage earner plan. This is for people who have significant assets, businesses, multiple vehicles, investment properties. These are people who want to keep their assets, and you basically buy back your assets from the court. That's how a Chapter 13 works. You spread out any type of payment plan over 3 to 5 years, and that makes it reasonable. And you only pay back a portion of your debts. So I'm going to go through 3 success stories on people I've helped throughout this process. This client came to me, he needed back surgery. Let me back up 2 years prior to him coming to me, he needed back surgery. He'd gone to the doctor says you need it. He didn't get it, he became confined to a wheelchair. He was in his mid-30s. Doctor said he needed it, insurance denied it. He put the surgery on 7 credit cards. He made those payments, I think it was over $3,000 a month for over 2 years until he came to me. He'd gone from $70,000 in debt to $40,000, and he was struggling, he was drowning. We wiped out all his debt in 120 days. He was walking again, he was back to normal, able to move on with his life. Second person who came to me, Maria. Maria had 3 jobs. She was working and she was struggling. She was making some good money. She had a lot in debt as well. When she came to me, her plan was to take $230,000 out of her retirement to pay off the IRS and her credit cards. With me, she paid $30,000 back over 5 years. That's it. $30,000 is all she paid. Her IRS debt, as well as her credit card debt, disappeared. She did not have to pay it back. And the last person I want to talk about is a doctor I helped. He was a dentist. He expanded his practice and purchased 2 other practices right before the pandemic. Taken out an SBA loan, $650,000. Gone into expansion mode. What happens? COVID happens. Everything shuts down. He comes to me, his business is closed. He's working as a dentist for somebody else. He's got all this debt he's paying over $10,000 a month on, and we got him into a payment plan for $2,500 a month. He paid back $150,000, but more importantly, he wiped out over $600,000 in debt. He got the closure he needed to be able to move on with his life and leave his 2 or 3 failed businesses behind. So, things you may observe for people who are considering bankruptcy. And remember, I said you have to be intuitive because people aren't going to say, I need a bankruptcy lawyer. You have to look for people who stop socializing, pull away, stop going to family gatherings. These are good indicators. If you see people are constantly stressed, look tired, not sleeping, that's also a good indicator. People who ignore phone calls, we talked about that. They're constantly ringing. And then people who have a second job, or families where you see all of a sudden a spouse get a job or a kid get a job. You're kind of like, that's a little odd. What's going on? You'll also see situations where people change their lifestyle. They don't do regular repairs to their car, regular repairs to their house, and you kind of see the house can look a little disheveled. And you're kind of like, what's going on? Why are you not taking care of these things? Also, borrowing money from family, that's very, very common. They start borrowing money from family and friends, and then unfortunately go to these 300% payday loans where they're paying $300 a month or a week in interest, and they're not even touching the principal. It's just one of those slippery slopes. So, things you may hear. Here's a couple of the things you'll hear on people who are also considering bankruptcy. And these are things they might tell you, like I'm being sued on a loan, I'll never pay off my student loans, and I'll get more into that. So here's some of the cool things you can do through bankruptcy that I'm going to talk about. Homes, I already talked about. If you're behind in your mortgage, you can split up the arrears over 3 or 5 years, catch up, get you back in there. Here's an example. Somebody was $60,000 behind. We split it up, $1,000 a month for 5 years to get caught up. Also, if you're underwater on your mortgage, and that was the last slide, but you can strip off a second mortgage, a junior mortgage, or a HELOC if it's unsecured off your property. So if you're underwater, that can disappear. Student loans. Right now, if you want to go to the University of Miami as an undergraduate, it's $95,000 a year for undergrad. Nova, $65,000. I had a physician come to me, he had $950,000 in debt, was making like $140,000 a year. So that will be somebody whose debt we wipe out. Student loans, they are dischargeable. This is a big part of our practice right now. Public, and I'm talking about public. Vehicles, again, if you're underwater, you can strip off whatever amount you're underwater in your car. If you're behind on your car payments, you can split up those payments over 3 to 5 years to get caught up again. And also, all these people got these cars during the pandemic with $1,000 in payments, monthly payments. You can't just take the keys and give them to the court. Be like, I don't want this car anymore. I don't want this payment. Your obligation under the note, whatever instruments you sign, discharged. You don't have to worry about it. IRS tax debt, anything that was due before April 15, 2021, so older than that, is dischargeable. So anything newer than that, you do have to pay back, but you can pay back through the plan. I had a client yesterday who was $35,000 in debt for 1 year of the IRS. We split it up over 5 years. It made a very, very comfortable payment plan for him, and he's still got to wipe out all of his credit card debt. Business debt. So, we know a lot of people struggling, a lot of people with failed businesses. What we help people do is get rid of that SBA loan guarantee, the EIDL loan. Your business is still responsible for the debt, but you are not personally. So whatever happens in your life or whatever you want to do with your life, you can, because you don't have that this big SBA loan debt that's basically with a $3,000 or so month payment, giving you a difficult time to make ends meet. A lot of people who do this type of thing, they actually close their business, start a business the next day, get rid of the guarantee. If you're obviously a big company like a Spirit Airlines, you've got tons of assets and things which change things, but for the most part, this is how people get out of this type of debt. So why Dream Legal? Here's a couple of the reasons. I've been at it for a while. I get awards in the mail all the time, and I'm not saying that to brag or anything. You have to pay for them, so I don't. We get them all the time as lawyers, and it's just how it works. We work anywhere in Florida, so we can help the entire state, and that's about it.